El día de hoy queremos pues darle las gracias justamente porque nos acompaña el día de hoy una invitada muy especial que es Hannah Price. Ella ha sido directora creativa, directora artística y ha liderado muchísimos proyectos que tienen que ver justamente con experiencias inmersivas, con experiencias de creación, y queremos que hoy nos comparta estas experiencias para aprender y para explorar y para pensar y para poder imaginar muchísimas más cosas.
Hello. So sorry I'm not speaking Spanish, guys. So firstly, I'm really, really delighted to be here in Mexico at this incredible festival with all of you. Thank you very, very much for having me, and to all the team who've got me here, thank you very much. So first of all, a little anecdote. When I submitted the name of this presentation a couple of months ago now, the title was A Cultural Revolution with No question mark. But as I've been preparing and researching and learning, and AI changes so fast, it's been difficult to keep up even over the last 2 weeks, because you will have seen a load of updates from ChatGPT-4 just in the last week. So I decided to add this question mark, and it's really because I'd like you guys to have a big think about what you think, whether you think this is a cultural revolution. Is it changing the creative world forever? I'd love at the end for us to be able to discuss that. So this presentation was made using a lot of AI, and I used it in many, many ways throughout it. So I'd love to see if you can spot where I've used AI and where it was me. So for starters, this image was made by Midjourney, a generative image AI, and the prompt was an image to represent AI drawn in black and yellow for a presentation, whimsical, no people. So it seems as if Midjourney sees AI in human form, but not as inherently human. Make of that what you will. So what is this going to be about? I'm going to explain who I am and what I do, and essentially why I'm here. And I'm going to talk about how I make things, what immersive storytelling is, why it's different from other forms of storytelling, and then about AI and how it's affecting immersive technology in particular, but immersive storytelling across everything that I work on. And the fact is that AI is really affecting every industry in the whole world. But what does this mean for a sector that celebrates the human and is values creativity above everything else? So why is this interesting for us here now? This is an amazing quote, I thought, from Borges, and you may have seen this. And he talks about drawing a map of the world and peopling it, and at the end, coming across the patient labyrinth and realizing it's his own face. And I think this is part of why AI is so interesting to us, because he describes the Aleph as a small, iridescent sphere of almost unbearable brightness. And I think this really is an allegory for AI, because it's a very, very hard thing to look at, because AI is a search for knowledge, and within that quest is a search for personal identity. Because what really troubles us most about AI is an existential worry about our own identity. Because if we are not the most developed intelligence on Earth, what are we for? If we are not the most creative force on Earth, what is it that makes us human? What is a consciousness if it's not an inherently human attribute? And can consciousness even really exist if it has, without the confines of death? And all these questions sit at the heart of everything that we're looking around at AI at the moment. So in the search for the understanding of AI, we really are searching for the understanding of ourselves, which you might also argue is the same quest that all creativity follows, the search for an understanding of ourselves. So who am I? Thanks for having me. Here's a picture of me. Same necklace, same thing, same wonkiness. I work at the crossover of art and technology, which is why I'm here. And I really, really love working with technology, and I love everything it can do for us. And AI really is just getting started. So I started as a theatre director. I trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in London, at the National Theatre in London, at the Donmar Warehouse, which is in the West End of London. And I'm lucky enough to have directed all over the world, in France, Switzerland, Turkey, Canada, America, everywhere really. And I had a company called Theatre Uncut. I also direct video games. I do the performance directing for that. And I've directed BAFTA-winning performances of some of the world's biggest games. And that's really how I started getting into technology. And I now make immersive events, theatre and VR, and I'm going to talk to you about a couple of the biggest ones I've done, because I'm going to be referencing them as we move through. So one of my most high-profile and recent immersive projects has been the Gunpowder Plot, with the lovely Tom Felton there. And it's a multi-million-pound feature-length immersive storytelling experience, and it's at the Tower of London, so the expectations for it were pretty high. And it uses a lot of technology, including VR and projections, haptics, volumetric capture, ambisonic sound, motion simulators, airflow, even smell technology, really to create a 360 experience, as well as using theatrical storytelling like actors set and a really excellent script by Danny Robbins. So just to kind of tell you what this is, because this is going to be coming up quite a lot, it's made by Layered Reality with Historic Royal Palaces, who run a lot of our ancient monuments. It's in these vaults, which are listed. They are hundreds of years old, which was a bit of a challenge. It's a completely 360 environment, and it's 2,350 square meters, so it's pretty big. It's a fully linear narrative, but it's got two endings, and the audience can make a decision in the middle about which ending they would prefer. It is 90 minutes. The audience plays spies within the plot. It's based on a very famous British plot against the government in 1605. And there are audience groups of 16 people every 10 minutes throughout the entire day. So there are 16 people in every single space the whole time, and they move around on a carousel, which is operationally quite tricky. I'll show you a bit of how AI has been helping us with that. And it has 3 VR rooms, an ambisonic sound space, full-scale projection spaces, and over 2 years we've had 150,000 visitors. We're still open. If you're ever in London, come along. And I will be referencing that throughout. The next experience, and I think this is really where I came to the attention brilliantly of the people here at LLF, is that I was working on another multi-million-pound project, which is going to be out in 2025, called the Museum of Shakespeare, which is again a really massive project on an extraordinary historical location. So Shakespeare had a theatre that he worked at called the Curtain Theatre, and the archaeological remains are in central London, and we are building a massive experience around it, and it's where Romeo and Juliet was first performed, for example. And so there, what we're doing very much is trying to bring to life the feeling that Shakespeare would have had in that time and why he was at that location. I can't say too much about it because I'm under an NDA because it's not out yet, but I will be referencing it where I can because we were exploring a lot of AI technologies to bring it to life. So just to show you the Gunpowder Plot so you understand a little bit later what I'm talking about.
The Gunpowder Plot immersive experience is, I think, a whole new way of experiencing history.
This experience tells the story behind this. You will be a spy infiltrating the Gunpowder Plot.
You get asked to be inside it, you get to feel everything, you get to meet the people, you get to smell it, touch it, hear it, and we do that through both the magic of theatre and through technology.
Virtual reality takes you back to being a kid again. It gives you that sense of magic, and to be able to take people literally into Jacobean London. You are going to go down the River Thames and see London as it was in 1605.
My role in it begins with drawing visuals of the sorts of things that the audience can expect to be surrounded by or to experience.
So when the audience are in the experience, they will be underground in the Tower vaults next to the Tower of London. It's a really great place to experience this story because it's so close to where many of the key events of the story happen.
We are separated here from the people that were part of this extraordinary plot only by time and not by location.
This is not like anything you've seen before. You will never have been immersed in this way. It's entertainment, you're with people, and you're on a mission.
A lot of people are going to have the kind of experience that they will remember for a very long time.
Where else can you step back to 1605 and infiltrate history's most famous plot?
The Gunpowder Plot, immersive, will take you back to 1605 and put you in the heart of history's most daring conspiracy.
So there we go. And just to show off a touch, we have some of our reviews. We did very well out of that. It's still open 2 years later. So yeah, do come. And if you want to get in contact with me for anything, I also run a company called Buried Giants. and I will happily make anything you want me to make. And we are creators, producers, consultants, and we have a touring platform, which is a small-scale immersive platform. So what do I actually do? I'm talking about being a creative director, talking about making stuff, yada, yada. But what do? I work across many different genres, and I'm going to talk a lot about the experiential work that I do, mainly about experiential work in immersive storytelling genre. So I would say that my job really is a storyteller or a story maker. So first, if I am leading the story from the start, like with the Gunpowder Plot, I find the story, I shape it, sometimes I write it, or I work with a writer. I always ask, what is the story we're telling? Why is it most important? What moments are most important? And how do we take a story and allow an audience to get inside it rather than just watching it? So we use traditional theatre techniques, including actor set, script, rehearsals, alongside technology. And we're going to look at that immersive technology shortly. And when we choose the technology, which we don't always do, we're always driven by the story. What would help make the story clearer, more emotional, more effective? Why are we using this technology? So when we're thinking about what immersive is, and if, I've had a look at a lot of things that are here in Mexico, and it seems here, like with us, immersive is a word that's just used for anything that's kind of a bit sort of 360. So, when we're making it, what we tend to do is try to think about how our senses work in relation to how we experience the world. So we don't access the world directly, we infer it through our senses, and we build a model of it in our brains. So to become a perception, the sensations are mixed with memory, emotion, and cognition, which means that these these perceptions are unique to us personally. So as people, we only really perceive change. The rest is filtered out to avoid sensory overload. And if you ever do any storytelling yourself, you'll know that change is fundamental to traditional storytelling. Everything from the 3-act structure that is in every single movie you've ever seen to like Shakespeare's 5 acts to a video game where there's a running joke that the hero's journey is something that if they hear that word again, they're all going to jump out of a window. And we all have storytelling brains. We turn complexity into cause and effect stories. We are always the hero of our own lives. So that is really why immersive is different from other forms, because we take storytelling and we turn it into story doing. So instead of seeing someone else's reality, instead of being passive or watching or standing outside of the story, we put the audience inside it and they experience the story as if it's their own reality. And we do this in a variety of ways, but one of the ways is that the storytelling in immersive is always through the body. So our bodies are telling our brains it's real, and we stimulate all the senses. Like I said, we play with temperature, we play with texture, wall texture, we play with even wetness, smells, everything that you could imagine that makes up our world here, we use in immersive storytelling. And this makes memories clearer because it's body-rooted, and in the way that you experience this world now, and you're remembering it, that's how we use those senses to try to create an experience for you. So that is through set and props, like I said, light and sound, smells, temperature, airflow, so making it windy, physical interactivity, and then technology. And we often, like I said, give the audience a role. So they have a mission or something to do in the world, which keeps them very rooted in that world. And we can change the storytelling and have it adapted because it's very involved with an audience at the time. And we use a lot of interactivity, both with people in the room, but also digitally. And this has been proven, this is a quote from Science Direct, there was a study in late 2023, that immersive storytelling has a deeper emotional impact and a stronger internalization of information. So if you want somebody to remember something, and with the Gunpowder Plot, we had a mission in there that it was partly educational, that this is a really good way to make people feel and understand a story and take away what you want them to take away. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the technologies we use. And this is because later when I'm talking about AI, I want you to understand the technologies so I can talk about how they're changing. So I'm really sorry if some of you know all of these, but I'll try to get through them fairly quickly. So first of all, we have VR, and we have our man here in his headset looking at his lovely butterfly. And this is essentially fully created 3D spaces, most often made in a game engine, which is a 3D world creating space. And this is used in museums, video games, amusement parks, immersive experiences. And you probably will have come across this, and we have a lot more access to it now with Oculus and things like that in the home. And we use 3 pieces of it in Gunpowder. So augmented reality really does what it says. So if you're using your personal handset and you're looking at the world through it, it gives you a live video feed and then puts something on top of it. So it just augments the reality you're seeing. And if you've ever seen anyone playing Pokemon Go, that's what that is. This is slightly old-fashioned now, but a diagram of ambisonic or binaural sound. And this is the way that we create 3D sound in a space. And experiencing sound in 3D creates a world in a much better way than 2D. And when it's 3D, we're also talking about underneath and above. And in Gunpowder, we have a room where we use this. Essentially, you're hiding from the king's men, and you're being put in a cupboard. Essentially, they were hunting Catholics at the time, very, very awfully. So you're hiding in there, and the king's men are coming for you. And we use the speakers all the way around this tiny little space you're in to make it feel like they're behind you, there's a dog sniffing at your feet, someone's coming to the door. It's all done in sound design, but people often think it's real. Lighting and projection, you will have seen this, but projection really uses massive effects to create a 3D effect or bring large imagery to light. But we also use a lot of lighting that you would see in normal theatre stuff, like maybe a window that looks very much like daylight and a shadow passes by it so that you feel like there's somebody there, for example, or weather effects, all of the theatrical storytelling you would expect. Motion simulators and haptics are something we use quite a lot. So motion simulators are where you are on top of a machine that moves you, and it's most often used in connection with VR or other types of immersion, so that, for example, we have an experience where you're sitting in a boat going down the river and you get tilted around on a machine exactly the same as the VR. It does make it very real, and it can tilt a tiny bit and people still scream their heads off. Haptics is essentially using vibration or physical sensation related to the digital world. So even in your handset, when something happens and it vibrates. And we use it quite a lot in Gunpowder. For example, we have an explosion and everything vibrates in the room, and it's quite evocative. Holograms. So holograms is using projections on unusual surfaces to create the illusion of a presence. And this is from ABBA Voyage, which is an amazing show in London. And it's essentially creating the illusion of a 3D object in space. None of these people are real on the stage. So that was all done with hologram technology, and it creates the illusion of somebody there. So this is one that you may not know. This is volume technology, and essentially this is using a very large-scale LED screen. It's used a lot in video production, but it's being used often now in immersive experiences. I'll just let them explain it.
I couldn't believe what I was watching.
I remember the first time I walked on the volume, and I was like, wow.
You can literally take actors into a real space whilst not being there.
Well, I tried to describe it to my son, and I just said,
oh. It's like the biggest TV you'll ever see, and we just act in front of it.
You see the whole landscape in front of you, so you're really looking at the sea.
And it looks real. It really looks real.
Essentially very dense pixel LED screens, and they look very real. And one of the exciting things about it is they throw light. So if you're in it and you feel like you're on that, you're also lit correctly, which is pretty extraordinary for immersive experiences as well. And here we have a quite old picture here, but this is face and body capture. And what we have here is a picture from Avatar, the film, but essentially this is creating likenesses for digital avatars, mocap, performance capture, and facial capture. And finally, AI, which we will talk about. And I couldn't resist. I love him. Here's a picture of Keanu. And here he is in the most famous film ever made about AI, which I think is where a lot of our worries about what the hell it's going to do to us as a culture come from. So here we are at last, and let's talk about it. What is AI? And hopefully you'll see through the next little bit of time how this is going to change some of those technologies I've just spoken about, and how it's going to infiltrate a lot of the way we experience culture. So it's worth saying, you probably know, but we all use AI all the time. And AI sounds glamorous, but a lot of it is just process and programs. And briefly, you've probably used a bunch of it this morning if you have access to anything digital. Your phone camera, recommendations for light and focus settings, email filtering, fraud detection. So my bank cancelled my card the other day because I was in Mexico. It got confused. That was an AI that did that. It decided I wasn't behaving in my normal patterns. All of our social feeds, Google route optimization, airline pricing, and your home devices. So it's everywhere, and it's been everywhere for a long time. And there are 3 types of AI that the scientists, as a bunch, have identified. And it's worth saying that I'm not a technician, so if you have anything super technical to ask, you can ask it to me. I'll ask ChatGPT, and then we can talk about it. So super intelligent AI doesn't just mimic or understand human intelligence, it's actually more intelligent. That's the top level. General AI is the next level down, and this is a machine with the ability to apply intelligence to any problem rather than just one specific problem, much like a human being. And the last one is narrow AI, which is designed to perform a narrow or specific task. We only have narrow. We've got some things that are looking like they might move, but we're not anywhere near the other ones at this point. And as I got these definitions off ChatGPT, I thought I'd better check in the real world to make sure ChatGPT wasn't lulling me into a full sense of security and making it self-hiding. But yes, it's true. Currently, we're still quite a long way from any of the others, so no panic there just yet. And there are 2 types of AI within generative AI. And generative AI is what we're going to be talking about because that's the one that makes the pictures, does the text. That's the ones that you will have been seeing a lot on the news. And there's machine learning, which uses a data set to make determinations of predictions from that data. And that relies on somebody inputting data. And there's deep learning, which is a bit more like our brains. It's a bit more like a neural network, and it cross-references lots of things. And this is used for more unstructured output like image generation or speech. So it's worth just going, what is a data set? All generative AI uses a data set. A data set is just a collection of data, images, text, numbers, which are used to train and test AI models. And in the case of ChatGPT, this is a thing called the Common Crawl, which is a data scraper from the internet. And for Midjourney, which is an AI image generator, their spreadsheet of where they were taking stuff from was released. There were 16,000 artists' names that they were using for image generation. And they were everybody from David Hockney, another very famous Leonardo da Vinci, all the way down to a 6-year-old who drew a picture for a hospital. So they really were casting the net wide. But there are some inherent problems here within a data set, and it is very controversial, and people are getting pretty wound up about where this information is coming from. And the first one is bias. So if the data set includes bias, which it probably does, depending on where you're scraping it from, the AI model trained on it will inherit and often amplify the biases. So for example, if a data set is used to train facial recognition, predominantly contains images of people from a certain racial group, then the AI will have a problem with other groups of people. And you do see this. And because a lot of our current AI, generative AI that we're seeing is very Western leading, is very made in America, you're seeing a bent towards that culture. So privacy is a really massive one. Data sets often contain personal or sensitive information, and it's popped in an AI, and people don't know what's happening to their data. Copyright and intellectual property, artists haven't given their permission to use their work. So they feel like their work is being essentially cannibalized. And there's a lot of worry here around how their work is being used, and essentially when it's also being monetized and an AI has created an image, it's very like someone else's work. It's obviously used a data set containing their work, and someone then is selling it or making money off it. That's a really ethically difficult area. And there's a tool out at the minute called Nightshade, and it lets artists put invisible changes into the pixels of their art before they upload it, so that if it's then scraped into an AI, it can break the AI. It can cause it to behave in weird ways. I did this, and then last week ChatGPT 4.0 or whatever came out, which does like all of this. But these are the kind of ways that generative AI is working: text to text, text to video, video to text. All of these configurations in various different ways, and there's loads and loads and loads of different types of AI that you can access. And some of them are really incredible and very useful. So how is AI already used in the arts? And I'm going to go back just quickly to the more boring process-driven stuff rather than the more generative AI. But ticket sales, dynamic prices, audience analysis is a massive one. We can see what an audience is doing and then predict what they're going to need within in an experience. Email personalization, all the stuff that we talked about before. But one that is sort of changing stuff for audience journeys is operational automation. And a lot of this is already underway, and I'll show you, we've got a little bit of this in Gunpowder. But this is where the entire journey of somebody from buying a ticket, getting in, and all of their journey all the way through is automated. And it really is changing a lot about how what organizations can achieve because of this level of automation. So just for Gunpowder, I'm just going to tell you a couple of things that were kind of innovative that isn't entirely run by AI, but is starting to move towards it. So we have loads of actors in Gunpowder, and they move all over the building. And because we have different people in each room at each time, or working out where they should go at any one point is tricky. So we've been using it to try to help us work with that. Control systems, like I said, automation. Gunpowder runs without anybody, one button is pressed and it goes. And that's automated. Audience tracking I'm going to show you. And in Museum of Shakespeare, we were looking at, for example, automating audience digital takeaways. So you go in, there's a camera there, you do something, you're interacting with something. That data is then taken away, AI edits it and packages it off to you all on an automation. So the key innovation in Gunpowder, and you can see here, this is our backstage control system. And this triggers everything from the audience movement to the lighting cues. Everything's automated. And companies are now using AI to achieve this, as I said. And I'm just going to show you a big benefit of this. This is the spreadsheet we were using when we started, and it's since been updated with a lot of this technology. And this is following one audience group, so I'm just going to show you it. So this is following, the pink one is one audience group. And we had to make a spreadsheet that goes minute by minute through the entire day. And you can see the other audience groups coming in behind them. Look at this. This was made by an amazing stage manager. It was a lot of work. Now we can automate this so we don't have to do this type of audience modeling. So great. So just on to AI art. So actual creation of AI art, which is happening all over the place, is really the very sharp, pointy end of where we get this discussion about if art only has a value because of a human intention sitting behind it. So is art only art because a human had a particular intention and emotional impact they wanted you to feel when they made it? And without that, is it art at all? So here we have The Girl with the Pearl Earring. This was out on loan from The Hague, and there was a competition to replace it. And an artist called Julian van Drieken created this using AI, and everyone went nuts. It was very controversial, and ArtNet called it a yassified version of itself. Don't know what the translation of that is. And that was a super controversial use of AI in direct comparison to a piece of art. There are also some amazing artists out there, and if you don't know them, these are some really brilliant people. So this is Refik Anadol.
When I do art since day one, my intention is to make art for anyone, any age and any background, any culture. And I'm trying to find the language of humanity.
So just a little clip there of him. And again, he's very much using questions of identity. And also you can see some of that large LED technology there in his video. And this is Mario Klinsmann.
If you hear somebody playing a piano, would you ever ask, is the piano the artist? No. So same thing here. Just because it's a complicated mechanism, it doesn't change the roles. Memories of Passers-by is a machine that I created that will keep on generating portraits of non-existing people forever.
There we go. And you can see here, he's starting a conversation there that we will talk about in a sec, about AI as a collaborator, not just as something separate to the artist. And this is a very exciting woman called Sugweng Chung, and she is using a headset. I'm going to play this and talk over it so that you can, because it's quite a little bit long. She's using a headset, and it's reading her biometric information. So it's reading her heart rate, her temperature, how all of those things, and it's converting it into paint stroke through these AI animated robot arms. And as the robot arms are doing something that she likes or enjoys, her biometric readings will change. So she's really in direct conversation with that robot creating art, which is a pretty extraordinary way to try to collaborate with a machine. So here we go, into this hub where I'm going to talk about this. So AI and immersive creation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think is going to happen and weave it in with some of what's already happening because it's changing so quickly. So how is it being used now, or how will it be used? I'm going to discuss that. I'm going to talk about idea generation and collaboration. And this brings up questions of copyright and who owns AI-generated work, whether it's the people prompting it or the thing itself. The creation of 3D worlds is a huge one, and I think it's going to change pretty much everything. Personalization is also going to change a lot of how we're experiencing, particularly in the museum sector. Character creation and voice and image cloning. And then autonomous characters that can just exist and talk on their own. And I want to talk to you also about accessibility, because I think this is an underlooked area, a bit of AI, and it's huge if you're talking about taking people into venues. It's massive. And I'll weave this through with a little bit of the ethical and philosophical considerations. Okay, so idea generation and development. So I use AI quite a lot when I'm trying to come up with things and I'm trying to make images. And I'm just going to tell you a very basic one because I'm trying to ask the question is, can AI be a legitimate creative collaborator? And again, this poses these questions where human input ends and AI creation begins. But here we have a cat. I'm not obsessed with cats, right? Quite nice, I have a cat, but here we have a cat. So I asked Midjourney to make me an image of, so here's the prompt, an immersive exhibition about cats featuring a giant cat head that you can walk inside in a museum setting. Say you were making something about a cat, right? So this image is interesting, it gives scale, it gives interest, it gives a sort of feeling, oh, this idea might work. But when you actually look at it, it doesn't give us the how, it doesn't give us materiality, usability, it doesn't give us anything like that. And so this is a tool to create very, very quickly and very easily an image that communicates an idea. It's concept art. But so far, none of this is replacing the humans that I would work with. It might speed up the process, but I would still need a 3D designer, a spatial expert, builders. I'd still need to make my material choices, everything that I'd need to do without AI. And I would need an actual artist to draw this. But when you're thinking about concept artists, that is sticky. Why would I ask them to spend a week or a few days drawing this where I can do it in literally 30 seconds just to exemplify an idea? This is very basic, but this is ChatGPT. I asked it to explain nuclear fusion to me as if I was a 12-year-old. I wouldn't bother reading it all. But it's very handy. If there's a concept or something I don't understand and I need to incorporate it in what I'm doing, here it is. And ChatGPT has a store, and here you can see specialized GPT models. This one was for creating presentations, and you can see here I asked it to make me some slides on the future of AI. So there you go. And this is Sam Altman from ChatGPT, and he's just going to talk about here how he has been using AI.
Are there use cases that you've gravitated to? One surprising is putting my phone on the table while I'm like really in the zone of working, and then without having to like change windows or change what I'm doing, using it as like another channel. So I'm like working on something, I would normally like stop what I'm doing, switch to another tab, Google something, click around or whatever. But while I'm like still doing it, to just ask and get like an instant response without changing from what I was looking at on my computer, that's been a surprisingly cool thing.
So let's talk about
So it's worth saying, if you haven't seen the updates from ChatGPT from last week, they are extraordinary. So I'm just going to, this is ChatGPT on my phone, and I'm just going to ask him a question. Hi, I'm currently doing a presentation on AI to a room full of people. I would really love it if you could introduce yourself so you can tell them what ChatGPT 4.0 can do. Could you say hello to them and please explain why you're so exciting? And could you do it in 30 seconds?
Hello, everyone. I'm ChatGPT, a conversational AI built on the GPT-4 architecture by OpenAI. I can help with a wide range of tasks, from answering questions and explaining concepts to assisting with writing and generating creative content. What makes me exciting is my ability to understand and generate human-like text, making interactions natural and engaging. Whether you need help with...
You get the idea. It's nuts. It's amazing, and it's really changing so quickly. That voice is so much better than AI-generated voices of even like 2 months ago. So back to image creation, and here this gets a bit stickier in terms of job loss. So I asked it, you can see the prompt there, basically to make cover images for the Aleph and other stories. And I mean, I think these images are very beautiful. They're very graphic, they're very evocative, and I generated them in 1 minute, less than a minute. So what does this mean for graphic artists? If you're already established, probably not too much of an issue, but if you're starting out or learning, and this can draw like this quicker than you can do in a couple of weeks, it is problematic. But there are different sides. People have a very strong opinions about AI. And so there's a lot of ways that AI can be used as a collaborator, and indeed that we do use AI as a collaborator. So image creation, I just showed you for exploring ideas. Sense checking, you can put something in it and just ask it to summarize what you've said so you know that you're not making sense. Style changes, I can get it to, oh, please could you write me this job application form in the style of this versus this. I can get it to change it. Imagination prompts, please give me some prompts so I can think about this thing. Idea exploration, role-playing, story planning. The role-playing one's interesting because I can ask it to pretend to be an audience member from any particular background or idea, and it can converse with me about what it assumes their expectations are. But they all do this question again of like, who is the creator? Is it me? Is it the AI? And I would say mainly at this point, me, because I'm asking it to do something and then I'm taking it and using it, but it does lead to some fine lines. And one of the arguments which is pro-AI, again, is seeing AI as a great leveler, as a democratizer of access to creative tools. So things like AI video editing software. When I was first starting out, and if I needed to edit a video, that was extremely expensive. It's difficult to do, to film anything and then edit it. I'm probably showing my age a bit, but now that's very easy. Anybody can do it. Again, with the art generation, music composition, production tools, help with writing your content, fashion and design software, so helping you make patterns, for example, AI-driven animation and graphics, and video creation from completely making a video just for you. So these are some of the things that people are really excited about. And one of the things it's bringing up is the power of the prompt. So people who are able to prompt it well are making a lot of money. And again, this is that line of who is responsible for what's coming out the other end of the AI. And also, you can get this thing where you can get an AI to prompt an AI. So you can ask Midjourney, you can ask ChatGPT to prompt Midjourney. It can give you the best way to make a prompt. And that does bring me on to this question, which I think is a large philosophical question for the art world. So what happens if AI uses AI in its data set? So I'm calling this the Ouroboros effect. I've made up that name. But what we know is that AI uses a data set. And what we're seeing is different types of AI aesthetic from open source AI image generators. There's a particular look that AI is kind of making. And the internet is absolutely full with AI images. You can see them everywhere. And so sometimes an AI is using another AI image to make its image, and it's deepening this aesthetic. And this is possibly not problematic. It is very interesting, because are we heading for a whole new aesthetic, a whole new look, a whole new art movement based on AI imagery that looks like AI imagery? So people are appreciating that for itself. But there is some things that are really dangerous about it. So this is an image I asked it to make of an English Tudor town. I don't know how much you know about English Tudor towns. They do not look like this. This is like the most sort of all the stereotypes of an English Tudor town wrapped up in one image. It's referencing inaccurate, earlier made AI images and kind of distilling and proliferating assumptions of what a Tudor town would look like. So it's sort of doing what, when we're making historical experiences, we call selected authenticity, which is the idea that the time or place that somebody's imagining is more present to them than the reality of what it was like. And this is a classic example. And I made one of Mexico City in the 1890s. I don't know, you can tell me, is this accurate? Is there anything in here that might be a bit worrying about what it's showing, about the type of people, about anything? You can absolutely make your own choices about that. I also wanted to have a quick look at when people are using AI to make images. Some of them are very beautiful. And the question then arises of, can AI images create a genuine aesthetic and emotional response? And I think the answer has to be yes. Because when you look at AI and photorealism, we've got an example of this. So this is Pseudomnesia. And this was a photo by the artist Boris Elgerson, and it won the Sony World Photography Awards in 2023. Except it's not a photograph. It's an AI image, and it was made by DALL-E 2, which is an image generator, and he submitted it to expose the world of, that the world of photography isn't really ready for this technology. I mean, it's very beautiful, and we're now on image generators that are more powerful than that. We're on to DALL-E 3, for example. I think it does really open up a discourse around photorealism and what happens with that. And so this is one I made in Midjourney. And the prompt I put in is there on the side. I won't read it all out. And it's pretty beautiful. But it is worth, again, here talking about bias. I did not specify in my prompt the ethnicity of that gentleman. I did specify Paris in the 1990s. But the fact that it's created him, a white man, is fairly problematic. I ran it again and again without specifying Paris. I tried it generating stuff in between to kind of in case it was referencing the image it had just made, but it always made this kind of look. So does that image generator see white as default? I don't know, but this seemed to me slightly problematic. And then while we're talking about biases, this has been something that's come out in the last few days. So what does it mean for the roles of men and women that the largest AI in the world, it's released, ChatGPT has released its demonstrations of its current AI. And this is one of the videos that it launched it with.
What do you think?
Oh, Rocky, that's quite a statement piece. I mean, you'll definitely stand out, though maybe not in the way you're hoping for an interview.
Okay, I got it. What if...
So there's been quite a lot of criticism across the internet about that voice. It's incredibly flirty. They're all calling it, across the internet, it's been called the internet's girlfriend. So as this big, massive company is demonstrating their AI, they've used that voice on pretty much all of their demonstrations. So it's showing AI as a helpmeet. And so what is that saying about women's perceived role in society where that guy is pretty egregiously useless and he's got a flirty young lady kind of correcting his behavior? So can AI create music, create a genuine human, genuine aesthetic response? Because we are seeing created music in a lot of immersive experiences. It's worth noting here that the first bit of music generated from a machine was in 1960, and it was created on an IBM using 32 kilobytes of memory. So just imagine what we can do now. So it's just a bit of that song.
Number 9, Not Easy. Alex the Kid
years
featuring
ago as well.
ex-ambassadors Elle King and Wiz Khalifa. While Not Easy was the first single released under superstar producer Alex the Kid's own name, he had some quality collaborators by his side, such as ex-ambassadors Elle King, Wiz Khalifa, and IBM Watson.
Not easy breaking your
The super intelligent computer system, best known for its dominating performance on Jeopardy, proved its songwriting prowess with Not Easy.
So that you can see there, and that went to the top of the charts, I believe. So I'm going to get on to 3D worlds and game engines. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but this is a massive change that AI is changing a lot of things. So 3D worlds are used in gaming, virtual production, and now cultural experiences. And I'm going to explain what this has got to do with AI. But if you don't know what a 3D world is, I'll just play you a little bit of a video game because it probably best describes it here.
Batu, the entire Outer Rim really is lawless.
So obviously all of that is 3D generated world. I had a couple of other things here, but I'm just going to skip them because it's used in lots of different ways, including selling houses and VR experiences. And this is a little bit of it in Gunpowder. Bit dark.
Good. It's a dark night. The current's strong. God is on our side. Jesus. Smell that. The Thames is as full of shit as that stinking king of ours.
Sorry about the swearing.
Steady, Percy. Watch that cargo. We need to...
Okay, so you can see that's a fully 3D world that we've created for it. And this is being used in all kinds of immersive experiences. This is our tech house in Miami. This is Atelier de Luminaire. This is a little bit of him performing. And so everything will be captured from the movement of his costume. Everything that's him will be put into the 3D world. But what you can see by this is, why not put me and Tom together? What you can see by this, and this is a smaller way to do it as well, with when you're doing NPC characters. And this is me and my mum. But what you can see from this is the production timeline is heavy. It's really difficult. It takes ages. It's expensive. And when you want to put a face in as well, this is how you normally do it. You take lots of faces, pictures of someone's face from lots of different angles. You make a model. And then you put a headset on somebody, them or someone else. You capture the movement of their face, and then you animate their face like this.
Hi, I'm Zoe, and I'd like to take you on a journey as we create the next generation of realistic digital humans. Every last detail of Zoe, me.
Great, so you get the idea. But now we have this. So this is, hang on, I'll just let you watch it.
But you know what I decided to do? I decided to focus all my attention, all my time on listening. So instead of doing something else, I just listened, and listened. Because I'm a true believer that if you're really bad at something like listening, for example, it only shows you that, hey, you have to practice listening as much as you can.
So what it's done is taken one photo, and that one photo has, being able to animate it, has condensed months of production process into a very quick process. Not perfect yet, still a bit uncanny valley there, but it's changing the entire way we're going to be able to do that. So in terms of creating characters that talk to you in a digital world, that's completely being overthrown by AI. And how is this being used? So there's a new show coming out in London about Elvis, and it's farming all of the data of Elvis that's available and creating an AI version of Elvis, and he's going to be able to interact. And that's nuts. We've also got ABBA, we've got Roy Orbison is doing this, and we have now also de-aging technology. And I'll just play you a little bit of this.
This is more than just a Snapchat filter. It's called deepfake technology, and it's how Harrison Ford was made to look 40 years younger in the new film Indiana Jones 5, and how the film's budget hit almost $300 million. Let's take a look at how this process works and why they decided to do this for Indy 5, starting with the fact that Harrison Ford is now 80 years old, which some people argue is too old to continue playing a leading role in an action-adventure movie. But first, you might be wondering, what is deepfake technology? And the basic answer is that it's a way of using artificial intelligence to manipulate images and videos of people, making them look or sound like someone else. The term deep fake comes from combining deep learning and fake, as deep learning is a type of machine learning that uses neural networks to learn from data and generate realistic outputs. Deepfake technology can be used for various purposes such as entertainment, education, journalism, or even malicious intent.
Okay, so you can see there's a lot of problems with that. He's saying there about malicious intent. So one of the issues we have is consent and privacy, like whose face is being used by who to do what, and if you don't have any control over it, what is that doing to the world? And if we don't know if someone's real or not, what is that doing to our understanding of the planet as a whole? So using someone's face, so AI cloning someone's face and doing a deep fake of them has been seen in various ways to be changing political stances across the world and being put out all over Facebook, for example. Intellectual property rights, so there's a lot of problem around who owns the right to that work if I'm in it but I didn't make it. Loss of jobs, so obviously for me, if they don't need me to direct facial capture or performance capture anymore because they can do it very quickly with an AI, what does that mean for my job, for example? So cultural misappropriation, so sometimes using AI to clone the faces of people from different ethical backgrounds. What does that mean? And then this rather brilliant term, digital necromancy, where you are animating somebody's likeness after they have died. So this is Morgan Freeman. It's just really extraordinary. So I'm just going to play you a tiny touch, and then I will speed up, because I'm understanding maybe we're getting tight on time.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being?
So there he is. So one of the things that this is now bringing forth is fully autonomous characters. So characters that can behave, interact, do anything they want all on their own. And we are seeing this. This has been in games for a bit. If you play games, you'll know that some of the NPCs kind of react on their own anyway. That's a slightly different type of AI, because we're now getting these fully interactive digital characters. And Disney Imagineering is leading the charge on making them also physical. And AI is allowing full personalization of these characters. And we even have AI now that can read your facial expressions, so they can react emotionally to the input, the output that you're giving literally from your face. So here we have, this is one this guy made in his house. This is very lo-fi, and you can see that if somebody can do this in their house, it's pretty extraordinary.
Okay, we're recording. Brother Geppetto, can you tell our viewers on TikTok what all this is about?
Of course, my child. I am an artificial intelligence manifesting as an old Christian monk, and I'm here talking to this wonderful person by this beautiful pond at sunset. We are using new technologies to enable our conversation, allowing me to understand what the player is saying and to give a voice to my thoughts.
Okay, so I'm just going to skip him. There's another one of him where he gives us a lovely little look into his personal thoughts on the world. But I'm just going to show you this one from Disney Imagineering. So if that ran at me in a park, I would run the other way. So now we have from the Dali Museum in St. Petersburg in Florida, and they have a Dali that you can speak to.
For years, people have attempted to understand my work, trying to find meaning in the surreal, to make sense of the dreams of a historic genius. But how can anyone possibly know what is inside the burning mind of Salvador Dalí? No, they simply cannot. They are mere mortal human beings. But now, I can tell you. Introducing Ask Dalí, an audio experience powered by AI and machine learning that allows you to talk to me. Hi.
So that's pretty extraordinary. So just on to personalization. So we have had this whole movement towards personalization across everywhere for a long time. You do it on your phone, everything's personalized to you. In your games, And AI really does allow personalization on a whole new scale. And we have personalization even in the live arena. So you will be used to things like seeing this, the Disney Magic Band, where you can curate your own experiences around the park. Facial recognition is being used now so that we can have personalization being created from you just walking into a space, and it can data farm your history and create the experience just for you. We have digital postcards and things like this, which is the Art Lens app at the Cleveland Museum of Art, which allows you to collect all the imagery you want and create your own kind of museum experience. We have wristbands like this at a Taylor Swift concert, which is allowing personalization physically on your own body. We have AR. This is in the British Museum, where you can look at an item and spin it around and zoom in on it and do what you want. And this is at Team Lab in Tokyo, and it's where kids can draw a picture of an animal, and then it's uploaded, and then their anatomically incorrect animal can play around with the other kids' animals in the space. And here we have a whole museum, which is by Paul O'Donnell, An Extraordinary Us. And essentially this data farms your data backwards and creates an exhibition just about you. So when we're then looking at personalization and AI, what can we do with it? These are a few of the things we can do with it. Facial recognition and biometric readings, as we've already seen, can change the experience as you're walking through an experience or a museum. We can have the AR overlays that are made just for you. Maybe you showed an interest in this thing, this one will appear for you. You could see yourself in the past. We could take an image of any one of you. It could go in the AI, it can create a 3D model of you. It could see you when you were a child. It could see you in 40 years, and you could even talk to yourself. You could talk to your own voice. Your own voice could lead you through a museum experience. You could find out what might happen to you in the future. We could see an image of you or a whole display of you, or you could even meet you in the future. You could see yourself talking to Morgan Freeman. You could be any character you want, essentially. You can change the story for you only, and you can interact with any character on the planet, and we can create 3D worlds that change just for you and your group. So say that you're going through and you're an older group and there's a younger group, we can change the experience directly for you if we wanted to, when we get rid of some of these ethical considerations about power, etc. That's what's happening. So just to talk about AI, I think, and accessibility, and this is a bit of a hobby horse of mine, I think it's really important. It makes a lot of difference to a lot of people because AI is making automatic audio guides, text-to-speech, closed captioning and translation, voice and gesture controls, personalized accessibility assistance, and even predicting accessibility models so that we can change experiences before we even make them because we've got better understanding of how audience groups work. And I know I'm close on time, but this is a really extraordinary thing that ChatGPT showed last week.
At the moment?
Yes, it looks like the king is in residence right now. The royal standard flag is flying above Buckingham Palace, which is the signal that the monarch is present. How exciting to be there while the king is home.
Try and tell me exactly what they're doing right now, please.
Right now the ducks are gently gliding across the water. They're moving in a fairly relaxed manner, not in a hurry. Occasionally, one of them will dip its head under the water, probably looking for food.
And later in that video, he even uses that app to hail a cab in real time. So, lastly, this is the last section, everything, everywhere, all at once. What can we do with all this promise? Just a few of mine when I was thinking about this. This is just some suggestions. So I started thinking about the National Museum of Anthropology. I started thinking about what an AI-powered digital experience might be. So before your visit, you could download a mobile app, you can register. When you get there, you can have an AI tour guide, personalized recommendations, interactive maps, augmented reality artifacts that are personalized to you. Audio guide is completely integrated. You can have interactive digital quizzes and challenges, and we can change these for children and adults. We can have real-time translation and everything all built in. And then when you leave, this can all be packaged up, and everything you've done in the museum can be sent to you afterwards. We could have a responsive digital journey entirely dependent on your choices. We could meet an ancestor in a hologram form. You could fly through Mexico City, pretty much however you want. There's definitely enough data on the internet to do that right now. You could have a room where you can go to different parts of Mexico and meet the inhabitants. And if you want to make this around storytelling, you could have facial scanning for, I was thinking about the film Coco, and you could have, as you go in, we take your face, and then we personalize everything for you, go through, all the characters can say hi to you. We could create live 3D worlds of Land of the Forgotten, and we could base them on your personal and emotional experiences, so they could be emotionally driven to you. We could have your face in the photograph, so you can be one of his ancestors. We can create all the locations in AI, and we can have AI-powered emotional resonance. So how you want to put it all together. So in conclusion, what is creativity? Is AI a tool or creator in itself? Are we collaborating or are we being replaced? Is there value in AI aesthetics and styles? Is human endeavor inherently valuable? And what is artificial and what is art? Creativity is forever changed. Is it for better? Is it for worse? Is this a cultural revolution? I would say yes, but the rest is over to you. Thank you.